Wah Gwaan. Thank you for joining me for another video. So today's video I want to go over a little bit about how I got started sewing, and then I want to share 10 tips to get you started on your sewing journey. So I started sewing 10 years ago. Yes guys, it was the summer before my senior year of high school. Can't believe that's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. Anyways, I still remember it. The summer before my senior year of high school, I was at home. I didn't get a job yet, and I just needed a hobby. So my mom was like, let me show you a little bit about how to sew. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So the first thing I made was a pencil skirt, a polka dot black and white pencil skirt. I still remember it to this day. And then I made a bodycon dress out of that same black and white polka dot fabric from Joann's Fabric. I will not forget that. If I have those pictures still, I will stitch them somewhere here on this screen. Anyways, that's how I got started sewing, and then I would make a couple things, wear them to school, and then one of my teachers were like, you know, we have a fashion show coming up. You should showcase your some of the stuff that you sew, get some models, and then you can show your line. And I was like, of course, why not? So I got to working. My mom helped me a lot, and we made a bunch of garments. I got my models together, and I showcased my fashion line. That was the boost that I needed to get started with sewing. And then I started thrifting. I just didn't have like a whole bunch of money, but I loved fashion and styling. And I would go to the thrift store, I would find a shirt, but just wanted to switch it up a bit. So that's how I got introduced to thrift flips. I didn't even know thrift flips were a thing until I started going on YouTube and then just trying to figure out how to change like something into something else. And then I would see the word thrift flips a lot, thrift transformation, and I'm like, oh, there's a whole community of thrifters that are flipping their outfits. Some are even selling it. I didn't even know this was a thing. So I, of course, got very intrigued. I loved it. I started my YouTube channel, and then I started posting, and I started just getting creative. Along the way, that 10 years, I did take a break from sewing in between. Not sure exactly the years. I'd have to go back to see when I took a break. And then was it last year, I decided I'm gonna start taking this a little bit more serious. So I started getting to buying a lot more patterns. Believe it or not, I was sewing all those years with just self-drafting. I was either doing thrift flips, or I was using clothes that I already had to trace out a pattern design that I wanted to do. Okay, well, that's how I got started. Now I'm going to share 10 tips to help you get started on your sewing journey. So about a year ago, 2 of my videos went viral on Instagram. I think one of them is at 1.8 million views, and then the other is like at 1 million views. Anyways, those comments were bombarded with people saying, okay, well, I guess it's time for me to take my sewing machine out of the box, out of my closet. Let me go borrow my mom's sewing machine. Or how did you get started? Do you offer classes? How can I get started? I want to learn how to sew. Just a lot of questions of people just wanting to get pushed into the right direction. So if I've had this idea to do this video months ago, I've jotted down all the steps 1 to 10 in this book. I've switched up some of them, but I'm finally sitting down to record this video, and I can't wait to get this out to you guys to help you get started sewing, because it's just such a great hobby to have, and then you can turn it into a career later on if that's something that you're interested in. However route, it's just learning how to sew is just a great skill to obtain. That takes me into number 1. Number 1, the first step I would recommend in starting your sewing journey is just to figure out, why do you want to learn how to sew, or what it is you are interested in sewing. And actually, tip number 1 and tip number 2 go hand in hand, because tip number 2 is to research. So I think they go together. You want to really figure out why you want to learn to sew, what you want to learn to sew, and do some research. Do some research. Watch the flip video, see if that's something that you're interested in. Maybe you want to learn how to make clothes from scratch. Maybe you don't even want to learn how to make clothes. Maybe you want to get into making bags. Maybe you just want to learn how to learn basic skills like hemming your pants, sewing on a button, altering your clothes. You don't even have to want to get into actually making clothes. You could just want to learn the basic skills to alter your clothes, and that is fine. Maybe you want to get into embroidery, or maybe you want to learn how to make teddy bears for your kids, or blankets for your kids, or what. It's so many aspects of sewing. Start your research, figure out your why, and of course over time this might change, but that's fine. You can alter that as you grow. You can start with just making clothes, but then eventually you do a couple bags and you're like, no, bags is my thing. All right, and then elaborating more on number 2, which is to research. You can find blogs, sewing blogs online, even on Pinterest. You're going to make YouTube and Google your very best friend, because you can learn so much from YouTube and Google. I learned so many from YouTube and Google. Things that I didn't learn from my mom, I would just go on YouTube, I would Google, and they became my best friend, pretty much, because I want to learn how to do something. I'm like on YouTube trying to research for that, and there are so many resources online that are free, that are just there for you. You can go on Instagram or TikTok or Pinterest and follow sewing bloggers or sewing influencers and see what you can learn from them, hear about their stories and so forth. You can even go to the library and find free books or free resources to turn to. Alright, you figured out your why, you figured out what you want to sew, or what avenue you want to get started with. Then it's time to get that sewing machine. Yes, it is time. While researching, you should have been researching the different types of sewing machines, because there are so many different types, and I know you may be like, wait, what sewing machine do I get? I'm going to make a whole different video elaborating more on machines that I recommend for beginners, but just to cover the basics, you just want a simple machine that has the basic straight stitch, zigzag stitch. That's pretty much the tool that you need. Like, you don't need, as a beginner, you don't need a sewing machine that does all the elaborate stuff, because you're a beginner, you are just getting started. I started with the old brothers machine that my mom had. She just had a spare sewing machine, and I just started with that. I don't even know what features that sewing machine had, but the only 2 features I remember using back then was just straight stitch and zigzag stitch. I just recently started using a serger, which is also called overlocker in some country, but I've only just used those 2 stitches and it got the job done. They weren't always neat, because that's the job of the serger, it's the need of the insides, but I learned many skills on how to put together a garment, and I wore those garments out without them ripping apart. So you don't have to get the advanced machine when you're getting started. You don't need to get the expensive machine when you're getting started. You just need a basic sewing machine, and as I said, I'm going to make a separate videos on that. However, while figuring out your why and doing your research, if you figured out that, okay, I want to make bags, I'm going to get into that aspect of sewing, and those may require working with leather fabric or heavy fabric, then I would suggest getting more of a heavy duty machine that can handle those type of fabric. So that's one aspect. I now have a brother's machine that does both embroidery and sewing. So if you want to learn sewing and embroidery, maybe you need to get the machine that does both. But don't go into getting a machine like that if embroidery is not something that you're interested in. So like I said, research on that and figure out what sewing machine tends to your needs. And then you may not even need a sewing machine. Like I stated before, if you just want to learn how to like hem your pants for work, or just simply learning to put a button on that have fallen off, you don't need a sewing machine for that, because those things you can do with just a hand needle and some thread and your hands, of course. So you don't need a machine for simple basic skills like that. Alright, so then number 4 is building your sewing kit. So I already have a video on this, on some basic tools that you need as a beginner to get started. I am going to do an updated version of that, especially as a more advanced sewist. So I'm going to add a little bit more tools to that video, but I am going to link it somewhere here on the screen if you want to go to that as reference. So of course you're going to need things like sewing machine, needles, thread, ruler, things like that. You want to, like I said, you're going to research, and while doing those research, these things are going to come up. So have a book to jot down all of those things that you need. Number 5 is to practice. Get that sewing machine out of the box. I've heard so many times, my sewing machine is still in the box. It's been years, it's been months, it's been days. Get that sewing machine out of the box. Get it out today. This is your sign to get acquainted with your sewing machine. Learn how to thread the bobbin, how to thread the machine. All machines are different, but the simple steps of just threading the machine is pretty basic. So you can watch any video on that. And I do have a video on how to thread your sewing machine, and that's going to be linked in the description box below. So get familiarized with your sewing machine, the parts of it, what each of the buttons or what each of the things on the sewing machine do. So get acquainted with the sewing machine, watch videos, you know, make it your best friend. Get familiar. This is something new, so it's like getting a new phone. Don't you play around with it and learn how to take a picture, or how to use the zoom, or you know, you take time out to do when you get a new gadget at home. It's the same thing with the sewing machine. You have to, the more you use it, is the more familiarized you'll get with it. So it's just practice. Take out a sheet of paper out of like a lined notebook and learn how to draw a straight line, or you could just draw straight lines on a paper and just use the machine to go over that, to learn how to sew in a straight line. Maybe get like a old t-shirt that you have and put lines along it and just get familiarized with going into a straight line. Keep doing that over and over, which takes me into number 6, which is just start practicing basic skills. Practice how to sew on a button that's half fallen off, or just get an old pair of t-shirt and get some buttons and learn how to sew the button on, just to get acquainted with the hand needle, or even start practicing that on your sewing machine. Just, you know, just practicing little basic skills. Maybe you have a shirt that's too baggy. Practice how to take it in. Watch a couple of videos on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and just practice simple things like that. Alright, number 7 then would be start with making beginner friendly projects like scrunchies, a key fob, pillowcases. Those things are all beginner friendly because they require just a few steps, and most of them are just literally sewing things in a straight line. Some of them are a little bit more advanced with teaching you how to put a zipper on, like making a pencil case or making a coin purse. Those are all beginner friendly, but you're learning something new, which is putting a zipper on, and it just requires just a few steps. And there are so many blogs and videos. All you have to type in is how to make a coin purse, and so many free patterns comes up. And with that, you're getting free patterns to learn how to read a pattern and how to follow a pattern, which takes me into my next step, which is buying your first pattern. There are so many free patterns online, to be honest, that you can literally just download, learn how to put them together to make like basic pair of shorts, or how to make some leggings, or just a tube top. Those are still beginner projects. There may be like garments that you can wear, but to make a simple tube top just probably takes 4 steps, and it's literally just sewing in straight lines. So start with the beginner projects, learn the pattern. All right, number 9, on to some more advanced projects. So if learning to make bags was what your goal, now you can move on to that, since that's a little bit more complicated, but you've built your confidence, you've practiced over a million times, you may have grown a love for sewing garments along the way, but now you can advance into making bags. Really and truly, I started making bags around the beginner side of my sewing. I made a bunch of purses and bags back then. I'm gonna stitch them here. They weren't like high quality bags, but they were bags that I could wear. And I haven't made any bags recently. That reminds me, I want to make a bag soon. I've just been so focused on doing thrift flips. There's so many more things that you can get into, but I want to start small for you and not overcomplicate things. So those are the 9 steps that I have for you. But number 10 is just simple: to have fun. Have fun with it. Don't let it frustrate you. If you're not having fun with it, then what's the point? Especially if you're just doing this as a hobby. Have fun with it. Create the thing. Wear it to the store. I promise you, people that don't sew probably won't even notice those little imperfections that you are there worrying about. They probably don't even notice it. So wear it to the store and build your confidence. If you're someone that wants to get started in your sewing journey and this video helped you, then let me know in the comment box below. If you have your sewing machine just in the box, let me know in the comment box below, so I can push you to get it out of that box. I mean, I hope this video did give you that push. But yeah, let me know in the comment box below. If you're already a seasoned sewist, say what's up in the comment box below. Let's get social over on Instagram and TikTok at LikaJ and at That's So Lika. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And happy sewing!